That's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Halo Expanded Universe. I need a weapon. And let's get into Halo Last Light by Troy Denning. Now, I actually have a physical copy of this book. However, work was a bit hectic last night for me, and I forgot it. I left it at work. But I do actually have a physical copy, which is really frustrating because I want to talk about how I really like the art for the cover of this book. Alas, it has a Spartan 3 Olivia, Veda Lopez, this new main character for this story, which is, again, would be helpful to get a visualization of what she looks like, and Fred, one of the Spartans from Blue Team, with Master Chief in The Fall of Reach, and he was also in Ghost of Onyx. And Karen Travis's first book. Alas, here we are. Non-spoiler wise, it is a solid read. If you like Halo, if you like this world, if you like these characters, you're gonna have a fun time with it. It is a solid book by Troy Denning. I also want to mention that this is, we have talked about Troy Denning books before in the Halo Expanded Universe. We talked about Silent Storm and Oblivion, both of which are stories set during the Human Covenant War that were written by Troy Denning, but these were written later. Publication-wise, as for Troy Denning joining the expanded universe of Halo, this was his first contribution, and it's a pretty solid read. I will say I was disappointed because the premise of the book made it seem like it was going to be a murder mystery, which I'm all for, you know, like a murder mystery in Halo, but that's not what this is. It very quickly becomes your standard military sci-fi, let's stop this threat, action, which is fine. There's also quite a bit of good world building going on, because actually the post-original trilogy world of Halo, like after they defeated the Flood, you know, after they defeated the Covenant, the world, in terms of expanding it, this is like the perfect time to do so. I mean, like, what really are you going to have during the Human Covenant War? Just a bunch of stories about the war. Kind of like, you know, New Jedi Order in Star Wars, which I know, funny enough, I got the Star Wars shirt on today. But it is very much, you know, like, you could tell really interesting stories during the war, for sure, but that's literally, like, all the stories you can tell. Unless you set a book before the war even begins, there's really not much to tell there. But once you have that war finished, the world, in terms of expanding beyond the video games, ripe for exploration. And there is a lot of interesting stuff here. Like I said, I'm going to this mostly blind. Besides the video games themselves, I have no idea what to expect. So not only do we get, you know, more stuff with, you know, resurgences of humans being dissatisfied with UNSC, insurrectionists, are they returning? Who knows? We get more tidbits that are leading us to Halo 4 with Ancilla's, which were introduced in the Forerunner trilogy by Greg Bear, along with mentions of Requiem. But also, we have another sort of... In the Karen Travis book, Thursday War, we learned about Joel Mandama and his whole faction, which is entirely like elites and some jackals and, you know, little grunts, little boys, because you don't really see any brutes in Halo 4. It's those three guys, like in Halo 1, and the new Promethean villains for Halo 4, you know, standard enemy type. But, you know, and then of course if we get to Halo Wars 2 and Halo Infinite, you have the Banished. But before any of that, we get introduced to this new faction. I won't get too much into it here. I'll get into that in spoilers, but they're called the Keepers of the One Freedom, which, you know, consists of brutes and jackals and, you know, a whole assortment, except for elites. There are no elites right now because the elites are having their own civil war right now. It's not, you know, they're not a part of it. So, but we're going to talk more about them in spoilers, but I just want to say, like, it's interesting because it's, like, again, expanding the universe, expanding the world. And we get introduced to some familiar characters, like, again, Blue Team comes back. We have a lot of people from Ghost of Onyx, you know, the Spartan 3s, and a new character who's actually pretty good, pretty compelling character, with Veda Lopez, or Lupus, something like that. But they're on the planet system of Go. It's GAO. And there's been a bunch, they got this big, like, cave system. Like, imagine Minecraft, or, I don't know, just some big cave system. And in this cave system, it's a lot of natural beauty, you know, like crystals and other things, nice rock formations to look at. So it's like a tourist spot, you know, to go visit. Some people go hiking there. Some people take, like, tours. Like, it's just a pretty area. But within this pretty area, there's been murders. Lots and lots of murders. The UNSC is here to assist with finding out the killer, along with local police force. They have Veda Lupus, this lady, and she's an investigator. She's going to investigate these crimes and these murders. Again, with that setup, I thought we were getting a crime, drama, thriller, mystery set in Halo, but as I said, it quickly stops being that, if it even was at all, and becomes another Halo book, which again isn't a bad thing. It's just like I was expecting one thing from the premise, and what it turned out to be is more of the same, which isn't inherently a problem. It was fine. But so she's, you know, being a bit distrustful of the Spartans and everything, and it all comes to, what are the Spartans? I mean, it's Spartans. You don't bring Spartans for random, you know, murders. Like, you bring them for big things. So why are they here? It must be more than they're letting on. And that's part of the mystery until it quickly gets revealed. But, you know, without spoilers, that's about the gist of the book. And there's a lot of good world building here. A lot of good character moments between the different characters in the story. And it was really fun. It definitely had that Troy Denning vibe that if you've read anything by Troy Denning, you kind of come to expect. It's very fast-paced, very quick. The characters usually feel generally in line with themselves, so, like, you know, and I could see why they continue to bring Troy Denning back for future projects. In fact, he even addresses some things that other authors have done, and done it in a more way that seems to be a balance between people liking it. So, but we'll get into all that in spoilers. Overall, do I recommend this book? If you're like, I want to get in the Halo universe, but I don't know what to start with, I wouldn't say this book. I'd say read the Forerunner trilogy by Greg Bear, or The Fall of Reach, or Ghost of Onyx. That's mainly it. If you have played Halo 1 through 3, ODST, and Reach, and want to know what the world is like before the events of Halo 4, I'd recommend the Karen Traviss trilogy, and maybe this book, but it doesn't really... It does introduce factions and stuff that are part of the setting now after the fall, you know, after the end of Halo 3. So in that sense, I would say that, but I don't find this to be essential reading, unless, of course, you're trying to read all of the expanded universe, in which case, I have heard the term Ferret trilogy before, and this is the start of it. So there's going to be more stories with these characters. So if you want to know who they are in the future and not be confused, you should read this book. But, like, if you're casually trying to get into it, I wouldn't start here, would be my piece on that. But I did enjoy it, and if you are invested in getting into all of the expanded universe of Halo, then yes, I do recommend this. And again, I just want to say, like, it is a testament to 343, and they get a lot of hate, and I'm coming from somebody who's like a book reader, who really loves to read, and is a big fan of the Star Wars expanded universe, which was 30 plus years of continuity. Now, I understand there's a lot of frustration with gamers when they get into Halo 4 and 5 and Infinite and feeling like we're missing out because if we don't read all these things, then we're missing on details. And that is fair. But at the same time, as somebody who cares about continuity, who cares about, cohesiveness and making things actually matter, having a universe that expands upon the initial ideas and makes it be more than just about the Master Chief, I think 343 has been doing a phenomenal job, at least from what I've read so far, of their expanded universe. I think they're doing a great job of that. They're introducing new characters that I'm invested in, that I care about. I mean, I'll say it right now. Saren Osman shows up here. She was just in the Karen Travis trilogy, so having her here is like I care more because I'm invested. I know who that is. But, and we'll get into other stories down the road where people get more upset. But I have a question for you, for those Halo fans who likes to read the books and play the video games but hate certain decisions made in future stories. Would you rather every story be ultimately inconsequential because it doesn't affect, the universe, or have stories that actually matter? Because there's one story in particular that deals with the ODST team, which we'll get to in the future, where people get really messed up about that. But like this, you can read or not read, and that's what I'm saying. Like this doesn't really you don't lose anything by not reading it. But that's part of the thing, right? Like, if I want to get invested in the universe, and stuff has to happen that matters for the main plot, like otherwise why even bother reading, or heavily invest in a character. But this was not a very character heavy story. It was very much plot, character second. So this is going to be more up other people's cup of teas than my own. But overall, I think it's well worth your time. I think you should check it out. I'm going to give spoilers now. If you don't want that, get out of here. So, we have Spartan Blue Team back. We also learn that Veda Lopez is very scared. I think it's Lopez. I don't know how to say her last name. I didn't listen to the audiobook. Anyway, she has a very tragic backstory because we learn that she is very claustrophobic. And we learn that she was kidnapped by somebody for a time. It's just kind of casually mentioned. And so she hates tight spaces. It's like, that's dark. I'm sorry. And they just kind of move on from there, but, But we do learn, and we're in the spoiler section. If you haven't left yet, I'd leave. We do learn that the Spartans are here to gather an ancient AI, or an Ancilla. Another thing we learn is that the average Joe, like the average human, their knowledge of Forerunners is the extent of knowing that the Covenant that they were facing for over almost 30 years worshipped them. That's all they know. But Oni, until they've gotten a bunch of, advancements through Forerunner tech, they would rather the public be ignorant about most of this stuff. We have a lot of Spartan 3s from Onyx, like Tom and Lucy, Ash and Mike or Mark, and Olivia. And they're pretty well fleshed out here. I like them a lot. They're fun. And then here's the thing I was talking about with this new other faction that's not even in the video games. We have Keepers of the One Freedom, which is a new sect. It's got, Jin Harley, Brutes, we got Jackals and Grunts, but no elites, because like I said, they're going through their own civil war right now, and the ones that aren't in the civil war are with Jumandama at Requiem at this time, just kind of hanging out, because they can't actually enter Requiem, but Jumandama knows he needs to be there, and nothing's going to happen till Halo 4, so, but that's where he's chilling out right now, so that's why there's that faction over there. But what's interesting about, because Jumandama's faction hates humans, they will never join the faction, because they despise humans still. But the Keepers of the One Freedom are completely okay with humans so long as they worship Forerunners and hate the UNSC. They have to hate the UNSC, which would be very attractive to former insurrectionists and people that still hate, or that are growing to hate the UNSC. So that's really interesting. And again, just expanding the world. And I like that a lot. But kind of the main brute, or Jin Holly, that we focus on is a brute named Castor Docab, and I really like him so far. I hope we see more of him as an antagonist, not really a villain. I guess he is a villain, but I hope they use him more and they don't kill him off by the second book, because I I really like him. There's even a part near the end where, because he's like, I was too prideful and I should have been more faithful to my faith or whatever. And one of his, like lackeys, like starts choking out this Hergarok who just healed him. And he's like, but what if this is a gift from the gods to take this with us? And he's like, no, 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 no. The gift was healing me. We do not try to play God with angels or something like that. And I loved it. That was some good writing. And then we learned about the Ancilla, named Intrepidi. And one of the cool things about the Ancilla is that it was awakened by Pius Inquisitor, which again is being connected. Because Pius Inquisitor was a big ship thing that we were reading about in the Karen Travis trilogy. So the Karen Travis trilogy is affecting this story. This story wouldn't exist if not for the Karen Travis trilogy. I love that. Olivia is at one point trying to talk to Vita while they're in a tight space, which can obviously uncomfortable. She talks about her family dying. She's got PTSD. She's like, I get it. You got PTSD. I got, anytime I see like a white plasma blast, because when she was a little kid, she didn't even see her parents die. Like she just saw a white flash, and her parents didn't exist anymore. And this is where Veda learns that they were taken as like 7-year-olds. And again, Karen Travis harped on the Spartan 2s because this was before there was a war with aliens and they experimented on children anyway. This is still bad, but they were in wartime because by the time they made the Spartan 3s, they were already at war with the Covenant for a while. So the Spartan 3s were volunteer orphans who wanted to join the program. Now, whether or not children can volunteer for anything that substantial is up for debate. But regardless, it is a bit more sounding morally correct than the previous one. But Troy Denning does critique it through Vita, which again, I think Troy Denning just does a better job of dealing with the same similar topics without being overbearing about it. Because, Olivia's like, yeah, I mean, but ultimately I help people, so that's really good in the end. So, Intrepidi and Wendell, who's an AI I haven't really talked about, but he's a UNSC AI, they have this interesting discussion, which ultimately leads to, Halo 4 sort of things. But, because Intrepidi has a whole midlife crisis as she realizes that, I'm assuming it's a she, I'm kind of putting that in there, even though I don't think they really adjusted gender for it. But it goes like, oh my god, like, if you're not lying, the Forerunners are gone, what is my purpose? What am I to do? And then he talks about how humans are able to use, like, Miranda Keyes was able to activate Halo Ray and everything, so maybe your purpose now is to serve the humans. And she's like, yeah, but what humans? There's people, I've read through all the files, there's conflicting opinions on what to do about certain stuff. And he's like, the UNSC is the right one. And she's like, I doubt that, but sure. It was just a really good discussion. I really enjoyed it. But by the end of it, a lot of things go down, and a lot of action, and I just don't care to bring it up. There's also some corrupt officials in the Gal government that hate the UNSC, don't want the UNSC there, so they actually allow the Keepers of One Freedom to enter the planet, but they also don't want the Keepers of the One Freedom to stay, and they don't want to actually go to war with the UNSC because they know they don't have the manpower to support that. They simply want the citizens to be riled up about the UNSC and want them gone. So there's a whole politicking thing going on there. But that was pretty interesting, but not too much I have to comment on there. A lot of been there, done that if you've read other fiction. But, again, world building, and it was good. But by the end of it, they're trying to put the blame on Veda for certain things. And so she has to go with the UNSC. And Saren Osman from the Karen Travis trilogy offers her a job with the Spartan 3s that we were with in this book, and says that you guys will be called, like, I need a Barrett squad, and that's where we'll see them in following books and stuff. But that's pretty much it. Overall, like I said, it was a fun book. Not exactly what I was hoping for from the premise, but it was still a solid book. overall net positive. And if you're really trying to get invested in this universe, then worth your time. But that's it, guys. Up next, we have a short story by Troy Denning in Halo Fractures, which deals with Ferret Squad. And then we move on to Halo Retribution, also by Troy Denning, focused on Ferret Squad. Till then, guys, let's finish the fight. Bye-bye.